So you want to learn a little bit more about how real estate cold calling works specifically for wholesaling. Well, in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what you can do to make those cold calls a little bit easier. Okay, so let's dive right into it. The first thing is first, cold calling is not something that you're going to get immediate results on. It does take practice. You do have to have thick skin because you will get yelled at, you will get called a scam, and other words that you may not like. So you can't get offended. You gotta have thick skin. You know, it's not you, it's the person that doesn't like you. They already get enough calls about their car extended warranty and timeshares and all that stuff. So what you have to do when you're cold calling people is you have to make sure you don't sound like you're selling something. And technically you're not. You're calling somebody to make an offer on their home. The problem is you may be calling somebody in the middle of eating dinner and they maybe weren't even thinking about selling their property in the first place. So how do you call somebody and not sound salesy when trying to make an offer on their house? So when you're calling a seller, let's say their name is John. You want to sound something like this. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, John. And then I just want to be quiet and I want to wait for them to respond. Who's this? My name is Steve and I was actually calling about your property in 123 Main Street. When I come across like that, this person's automatically going to think, who is this person and why are they calling me? Okay, if I called them and I said, hey John, this is Steven with XYZ offers. I wanted to call you and see. A lot of people that make that mistake and it's just too much. You sound salesy, you sound like a used car salesman. No offense to used car salesman, but you're coming across too strong, okay? So just make sure that you gather interest, get curiosity from the very beginning. Address them by their name. And you can't be afraid to do these things. This is not something that you're trying to offend people. This is a business. You have to have thick skin. So address them by their name, all right? Tell them you're calling them about their property. And the chances of them staying on the phone are a lot higher than if you were just to come across like a salesperson, okay? So when they say, who's this? My name is Steve, I'm calling about your property, 123 Main Street. What about it? Well, John, the reason I'm calling you is because we actually bought a property in your area and we want to see if you might be interested in selling for an offer. Now, keep in mind, when you are making hundreds and thousands of calls, cold calling specifically, people that have maybe never even thought about selling, this is definitely a numbers game. You're going to get a lot of people that say no, a lot of people that will yell at you and curse at you and all these other things, but you have to stay persistent because if you're pulling the right lists, your chances of talking to somebody that is actually interested in selling is actually a lot higher than you think. Okay, but you may get some leads in the beginning, you may get some leads in the end, you may not get any leads at all. You have to stay consistent. A few things to take note of when you're talking to people is making sure you're actually speaking with people that want to sell the property. I can't tell you how many times I've come across this, and I can speak from experience because I've made thousands and thousands of calls. There's two different kinds of people. There are people that say, well, I really wasn't looking to sell, but what's your offer? Those people are not interested in selling in the first place. They just told you it. Okay, they just told you that. So don't spend too much time with those people. Instead, when I hear that from somebody, I say, hey, I really don't want to waste your time if you're not looking to sell. I want to give you an offer if you're interested in selling, but if not, no worries. Keep my number. When you already sell, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to help you. I leave off on a good note like that because who knows, some people may consider calling you back in the future, and it has happened. Okay, I don't want to come across like a hard salesman, and like you can't make deals out of people that don't want to sell in the first place. So please make sure you're actually speaking with people that want to sell. So that's the first type of person. The second type of person is, well, I really wasn't thinking about selling, but if it's the right price, I would sell. Now, some people may think that may not be somebody that actually wants to sell, but we don't know what their right price is. I can't tell you how many people we've converted from a cold lead to a hot lead after we gather some information and some follow-up and all that stuff. But if I would have not continued that conversation, I would have not known what would have happened after I asked that. If I would have not continued that conversation, who knows what would have happened. but I don't know what their right price is. I care more about why they want to sell, when they want to sell. The price is irrelevant, and we don't know what their right price is. Their right price might be our maximum allowable offer. Who knows? Okay, so make sure that you're actually speaking with people that want to sell, and then sometimes you'll just speak with people that want to sell, and sometimes you'll speak with people that just flat out say, no, don't ever call me back. Okay, so make sure you're spending the right amount of time with people that actually want to sell. All right, another thing to take into consideration is follow-up, right? These will not always be one call closes. The first call is making sure they're actually interested. The second call, especially if you're new, might be gathering information. You see, when you're cold calling somebody, especially when you're new, you have to gather the basic information. Get to know the person. Who are they? Why have they even considered selling? Tell me about your property, the usual bedroom, bathroom, square footage, year built condition, but why do you want to sell? Or why are you even open to getting or hearing an offer from me? And what kind of time frame are you looking to sell? Okay, so you want to make sure that you gather all that information, and especially if you're new, you simply want to say, hey, great, I appreciate your time. I got all the information I needed. Is it okay if I give you a call back later after I crunch numbers? That way you want to take your time and run comps. I can't tell you how important it is to slow down, focus on gathering information. Don't try to get everything done on the first call because it's going to hurt more than help. Trust me, I've made the mistake several times. Okay, so that being said, you want to make sure you're talking to interested people, make sure you're gathering enough information, and the follow-up is the name of the game. That's where the money's made, is in the follow-up, right? One call closes exist, but they're not, very common. All right, you will speak with people that want to sell, and the most important thing is that you follow up. Let's talk a little bit about some common objections that you will hear when you are cold calling. The first one and the most common one is, how did you get my number, right? Now, when people ask me those questions, I want to address it, but I don't want to spend so much time with it because usually when people ask you a lot of questions instead of telling you about their house, they're not really interested. So you want to make sure that you let them know, hey, if you're not interested in selling, I'll take you off the list. But if somebody says, how did you get my number? Hey, that's a great question. Anytime we buy a specific property in an area, what we do is we scrape the public records, we cold call down the list. But hey, if you're not interested in selling, I don't want to bother you. I'll take you off the list. Okay? I actually want to do a takeaway, tell them the truth, and then do a takeaway and say, if you're not interested in selling, I'll take you off the list, because I'm not here to listen to complaints. If somebody's not interested in selling, move on to the next one. I don't want to spend too much time with somebody that's not interested in selling, because it's going to take time away from somebody that actually is open to an offer and hearing me out. The second most common one is, right, where are you located? All right. Who are you? Where are you located? Now, we do deals nationwide. You can do cold calling anywhere, but keep in mind, you don't always have to do it in your backyard. Okay. So if somebody says, who are you? Where are you located? I tell them, hey, our headquarters are in Tampa, Florida, but we make offers on properties and we do deals nationwide. But if you're not looking to sell, I'll take you off the list. Sometimes they'll throw you a curveball and say, well, what property did you buy? Hey, that's a great question. I don't have that information in front of me, but if you're interested in selling, I'd love to give you an offer on your property, but if you're not, I'll take you off the list. People will throw all these things at you, and you have to be prepared to answer. Now, keep in mind, when you're cold calling, you will mess up. You have to fail forward. You can't be afraid. If you have phone fear, the best way to overcome it is by actually making calls and messing up. Nobody is perfect starting out. Okay, you may sound like a robot. You may fumble on your words. It does not matter. Make sure that you're making the calls. A great place to get started and just start practicing, I actually call it warm calling, so technically it's not cold calling because the person's already interested in selling, are websites, such as Zillow, Craigslist, Redfin, Realtor.com. Start calling for sale by owner. These people have already expressed interest in selling their property. Cold calling is great. You can target a good market, a good list, but Trust me, it is very repetitive. If you don't like doing hard work, cold calling isn't for you. And keep in mind, you don't have to enjoy the process to crave the end result. You're gonna have to make thousands of calls to get that one person that's interested. Okay, typically you want to aim between 1 to 2 interested people a day if you're making a lot of calls. Like if you're working 8 hours in one day, that's typically on average the amount of people that you may be interested in. Okay, so keep that in mind. You have to be patient, but get started. You know, cold calling is an excellent way to develop and sharpen your phone skills, because when it comes to acquisitions, you have to be a lot sharper when it comes to that. So cold calling is great. Go try it out, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.